Hello, I'm Random Gamer Riven, and today is the start of a new Randomised Gaming video series that will be covering the entire of Destiny. Now, Destiny's been out for a couple of weeks, and I've decided that I actually want to go through and talk a bit about the game. But rather than just completely play through the game, I actually want to sit down and talk about some of the design behind the game, and actually some of the sort of controversies that's been going on. Because already, Destiny, I mean, it's been an enjoyable FPS, it's got some nice RPG elements, but certainly there's been some complaints about the rather short story mode, and when you actually sit down and reflect on some of how the game is, there are some problems with it. It's a nice, well-packaged game, it's wellly put together, but behind the curtains and behind the cogs of the wheel, so to speak, there's been certainly something's not quite right. Certainly there's already been some issues with the Cryptarch and the legendary loot and his... Well, I'm sure anyone who's experienced it, you got a purple drop, and when you went to Cryptarch it was a blue one. So I've been playing primarily with a hunter class on my personal account, and so this, I've decided, because I've been playing as a hunter, I'm going to be a Titan again on this account, and I'm going to I also want to see how the Titan has changed since the beta release, I should say. So we're going to go through them, but basically play through it and just go through the whole game again. I'm also going to list sort of where all the ghosts are and stuff like that, the gold chests, and just cover everything. But one thing that has come to light is a lot of people said that the story, and there's been some hearsay on the internet that elements of the story are missing that were supposed to be in there. Now, on the face of it, if you just play through casually, it's really hard to notice. But when you sit down and reflect it a bit more, there's something not quite right here. Certainly I noticed it with the free fraction. So you can play as a human, you can play as an Evo, or you can play as a Awoken. Now, they don't actually make any difference, it's just purely a cosmetic choice. But there's been some suggestion that originally there was going to be storylines based on each class, and certainly bits of that would make sense, because certainly when you're in the Reef, which is where all the Awokens are, if you're playing as an Awoken character, the dialogue is very weird because they're treating you like you're a human. And again, as you'll see in this starting mission, that when I actually came back and played through it again, I thought, you know what, this plays like you were choosing a human character at this point, because the starting mission's in Old Russia, in Earth, and the starting mission is the one mission you can't replay, and it would suggest that originally, depending which, maybe they had originally Bungie had an idea that each class, you would get an original exclusive story mission at the very start that would then link to the tower. And that would kind of make sense, because you kind of expect an Awoken character, spoiler alert, is from the Reef. So you kind of expect the first mission for the Awoken character to be in the Reef, and an Evo character, or the machine race, would be more sort of mechanical start. Now, there isn't actually much to say about the machine race. There's been very little about them, so I'm slightly think that whatever has been supposed to occur seems to have been cut out almost, because it's just purely cosmetic things. Same with the Awoken, and you kind of feel there should have been some slight changes. But certainly, when sitting back and looking at the first mission again, it does feel like this is a human mission and not one for an Awoken character who's found in the Reef, or one that's, or an Evo machine one. So, and again, I'd actually want, when we do get to the Reef cutscenes, I actually want to talk about them, because as I was playing as an Awoken character on my main account, and basically that's been really weird experience, because they're talking to you like you're not an Awoken even though you are, and it's things like that. So I'm just customizing my robot here, and incidentally, if you're wondering, I'm partly customizing him based on Raiden from Virtual On, if you're a fan of the series. So yep, go Raiden from Virtual On. So it's been an enjoyable experience, Destiny. I've enjoyed what one thing I have done is I wanted to actually know fully how to play the game. Although I played the beta, I wanted to get familiar with every level, so I know exactly what I'm doing when I go through and run these guides. And what I'm going to do in all these missions is show you where all the ghosts are as you play through, but I'm not going to collect them. I'm only going to I want to do a video where I collect them all. But I'm not going to speak too much now and let the intro play out.
We called it the Traveler, and its arrival changed us forever. Great cities were built on Mars and Venus. Mercury became a garden world. Human lifespan tripled. It was a time of miracles. We stared out at the galaxy and knew that it was our destiny to walk in the light of other stars. But the Traveler had an enemy. A darkness which had hunted it for eons across the black gulfs of space. Centuries after our golden age began, this darkness found us. And that was the end of everything. But it was also a beginning.
Now, one thing I did mean to actually have turned on was the subtitles, so I didn't have them turned on this first mission, but I've turned them on for the later videos. But I do find it a bit weird that if you're a Woken or an Evo character, you're found in a what can be described as a 22nd, 23rd century motor vehicle on Earth. And I feel that's more a human line. Plus the dialogue here, it fits more that your character's a human at this point rather than an Evo or a Woken character as you're brought back to life. And full credit to the composer, Destiny does have a fantastic score, as the Halo games did. And that's our first shot of the Fallen again. Again, the background for a lot of the enemy races is very poorly explained. There's no sort of cutscenes where you see the enemies sort of talking to each other and explaining why they're at war with one another. I kind of got the impression that the Fallen are like the Vanguard and the Cabal are sort of linked with them, but the Heist and the Vex are doing their own thing. There's something the Stranger says as well, which is quite interesting.
Guardian? Eyes up, Guardian.
Which she kind of implying she's like the reverse of a Guardian at one point.
You're alive.
So maybe there's an evil version of the Traveler out there.
I'm a ghost. Actually, now I'm your ghost. And you, well, you've been dead a long time. So you're gonna see a lot of things you won't understand. This is Fallen territory. We aren't safe here. I have to get you to the city. Hold still. Don't worry, I'm still with you. We need to move. Fast. We won't survive long out in the open like this. Let's get inside the walls.
So here we are back in Old Russia again, and it's starting to use. Interestingly, another thing I should point out is that basically it's been revealed that the beta was the retail disc. If you put in the retail disc and forgot to were connected as I did, the first thing that came up was a beta screen, and I was initially slightly bemused by it and wondering if I had not deleted the beta, and I realised they had just actually put the beta on the disc. So the beta, considering its size and stuff, was probably the full game with just content locks on it.
Okay, I need to find you a weapon before the Fallen find us.
Now, another thing you'll notice in this first mission that isn't present in a lot of the later story missions and added a real element, which I really enjoyed the first mission. This is actually quite heavily scripted, and it kind of feels like they had to start cutting a lot of the scripted stuff for the later ones, possibly because they're in a hurry or something. But certainly implies that it feels like the later missions are slightly more rushed, whereas this one's a lot more methodical. Admittedly, it is the opening mission, so you kind of expect that, but you don't get stuff like the fallen crawling on walls and later ones. And it was a really nice set piece, and I really enjoyed this. This was some kudos to the guys who did this sequence. This is fantastic. And there should have been more sequences like this in Destiny.
Here, I found a rifle. Grab it.
Because it really brings the enemies to life, because you see a side to them you don't normally. You see them hunting you. And there's the Grimoire, and that's the first card as well, which is just bizarre by the fact that you have to connect to the website. Why isn't the Grimoire in-game? And you're going to see me turn around here because this very cheeky light up there, there is the first ghost in the game. Yep. You have to jump up. I'm not going to collect him, I'm going to collect him in another video, but there he is if you want to collect him on this mission. So there's actually one of... There are 4 in this section, but you can only collect 3 from what I've seen, unless you somehow are able to get the double jump. So again, you notice that I'm so used to playing this now, I've just been running past the enemies and using my Titan Fist as well. I'm so used as well because I've been the hunter for the past couple of weeks. And when I first did it, I thought, where's the blade in his hand? I thought, oh yeah, that's the hunter's punching animation.
Loot cache. Let's see what's inside.
I should say that special weapon is actually different depending on what class you are using, so... Now, here's another interesting bit. These tripwires are only seen in this section in the game. They are not in any other section. And this is slightly odd, because why do this mechanic if you weren't originally intending to have some sort of enemy or placement in the game? Kind of expecting an enemy to place them. Why introduce them there if you weren't going to have an enemy to place them? So hopefully the DLC will be adding them back in, and hopefully you'll see some sort of enemy go to place them, because it's actually a nice little side thing. In fact, you've got to be a bit more careful, because a lot of the gameplay, the AI has been structured, it's just purely sort of rush, you just run, hide, shoot, whereas this was far more interesting, this bit, as the enemies sort of run into their own booby traps, and at the same time you also have to be wary of them. So I was kind of expecting a variant on the Dreg that would go around planting them, making areas a bit more tricky, so you can't just run away because you've got to watch out for trip mines. But that's it, that's the only section with trip wires. It's really, really weird the fact you would have something like that and then not use it anywhere else in the game. Now there is also another ghost in this room. Again, as you can see now, I've really got used to aiming for the head, so to speak. Headshots do more damage, and of course they go down quicker. And there we go, this little light here is the second ghost available on the level.
Let's hope there's something left out there.
Again, I'm not going to collect them on this run, I'm going to collect them on a patrol mission. The only ones I will collect on missions are ones you have to collect, because there are a few that are only available on missions. Generally, most of them, however, are available on just a routine patrol mission.
This was an old COSMODROME. There's got to be something we can fly.
And again, we've got another really nice scripted cutscene, like this warp effect. You don't see this too much else in the game. And some really nice textures here. Again, you get the big ship coming over, when you only see that really stationary and flying over during one of the public events. I was hoping to sort of do battle on one of the ships or actually fight against them, but you don't. A bit like you can't ride fallen walkers and things like that, and it's like, oh, expecting sections like that. Again, the starships as well you get. I was expecting some sort of ship combat, but instead they're merely well, they're merely tertiary things. You just get the look. You just basically just purely just designed to look pretty when you're in space, because you can't fly them and you can't have like space shooting sections, and I think it needs that. Because it doesn't make any sense to have slightly different coloured chips if you weren't originally going to have some sort of space combat. And again, that would have been a really nice element to the multiplayer. So hopefully, if Bungie are listening, they will think about doing something like that in the future by adding in some sort of space combat. Now, this another ghost back here. You will recognise this section from when I did the patrol missions, and from if you've been playing the game quite a bit. This little ghost tucked in the back here. And here's the third one. Again, I'm not going to collect him. I'm going to wait till I actually do a patrol mission. Now, the last ghost I couldn't collect. Maybe if my jumping technique was slightly better, but I think you need double jump. Basically, he's where I'm about to zoom in. He's on the top of that metal grid there in between the two buildings. He's there. I did a quick attempt at trying to get up there, but I thought I was going to need double jump. Sort of struggling to get up. But yeah, he's where I'm zooming in again. Now, one other thing that's been nerfed, and I was actually a bit disappointed with, is the difficulty's been quite heavily reduced since the beta. I thought it's quite surprising, since even the beta they've reduced the difficulty. I was looking forward to a more harder playthrough than what I actually had. I was able to whiz through the story missions in about 30 minutes. I was really surprised how quickly I got back to where I was from the beta. One other thing that has been mentioned is that subclasses are a little bit unbalanced. I felt some subclasses were better than others. Admittedly, the abilities do tend to change and it's how you yield them, but certainly I found the gunslinger ability on the hunter not anywhere near as good as the blade dancer and her light laser blade attacks that you can then use to heal yourself, or use the area effect that I am that just wipes out everyone in the vicinity. In fact, after swapping to the blade dancer, I stopped using the gunslinger one. No, I haven't gone back to that class either. And there's some loot, and then I just go to level 3, so I can't wear it.
There's a ship. Clear him out.
And there's the first captain. He's also the first shielded captain. He's actually a named one as well. Didn't really pay attention to that before. It's a shame because the Grimoire seems to have a lot of the missing sections of stories. It seems to piece together bits, but it doesn't piece it together that well. And I'm really hoping they put the Grimoire on in-game. It seems very odd that it's only available on the website, and it really needs to be added in-game. Just so, because you'd actually look at the Grimoire more often and go, oh, I've got a new card. Press it out and have a quick look. But you don't have that, so that actually did a quick look around the hangar, because it's the only time you see it with the ship actually in here.
Alright, let me see if I can get us out of here.
It's been here a while. Hasn't made a jump in centuries. We're lucky the Fallen haven't completely picked it clean.
Will it fly?
I can make it work. Okay, it's not going to break orbit. It just might get us to the city. Now, about that transmat. Bringing you in.
And there's the Archon boss, which we'll fight in the next mission.
You can come back for them when you're ready. Let's get you home.
And lurking away there is the Stranger Evo, who we encounter later on. And yes, I just spoiled that in case you haven't played it, but I'm sure a lot of people have played Destiny now. But, well, it's obviously going to meet her the way they gives the game away straight away there. It's that classic lurking character who comes forward as a sort of mentor. Not entirely a mentor, but she's certainly an ally throughout the duration of this game. So I'm just going to quickly have a quick run around the tower and do the first tower. But again, the ship, it just feels like it's meant for these cutscenes, and that's about it. I just really wish they'd done something with the ship, like ship combat, or actually being able to decorate your ship inside, sort of sitting in it and being able to walk around it and find little knickknacks and things and power-ups and keep your weapons as a sort of storage facility between, so you don't need to flee back to the tower every time. I'm surprised that the other thing is there's only one city, and you're kind of hoping there would be sort of colonies on Mars and Venus once you clearly establish a foothold.
Welcome to the last safe city on Earth. The only place the traveler can still protect. It took centuries to build. Now, we're counting every day it stands. And this tower is where the Guardians live.
One thing I will add though is all the cutscenes are very well put together, even if they don't necessarily seem to fit together properly with some of the story missions, and it does feel like sections are missing. I'll point it out later on, but there's one, the Rasputin, the AI that we encountered in the beta. You never meet him, even though one of the later missions, the Dust Palace Strike, which is the PS3 DLC mission, feels like you should have met him in between, but he's not present in a mission, and there's a few other missions where things like that happen, where they don't link properly, and it seems like missions are missing. The story jumps around a little bit, but the cutscenes that are actually in there are very well put together. I just wish that the whole story was more free-flowing and just flowed better with each mission. Zavala, the mentor of new titans arriving in the tower, can help you with some equipment. Yay. And first I'll go to the postmaster and get my beta founder. So that's the sign of the Eldar. That is a beta emblem, I believe. I'm not sure if there's any others. I've only had the sign of the Eldar. There's a foundling one you can buy from... Founders one, I should say. You can buy from the event girl. And I've actually had another one I can buy from the event girl, but that's about it. Kind of what she give out special awards. She seems a little bit... The event girl just seems like one of the many characters you just walk up to occasionally every now and again and just say hi. Again, I kind of feel there should be an introduction sequence here when you first meet whichever commander you're supposed to be talking to, because one of them is Nathan Filton, the Hunter Vanguard, or apologies, I've got his name wrong. Basically, the guy who's in Castle and was Mao in the wonderful Firefly and Serenity. He actually voices the Hunter Commander. And a lot of the voice acting is there isn't actually they've had some really great voice actors in this, and there's very little cutscenes for them. So you kind of expect an introductory cutscene where they say "Welcome, Guardian." That's not here, and that it really needs to be here just to settle you into the tower a bit more and just introduce you to the characters. Where they say, "This is the thing. I'll be your commander," and also just a quick guided tour. They say, "This is the Crucible. This is what we do here." Because a lot of these characters, I mean, they've actually got some quite... When you actually look at the voice actors in it, they've got some very good actors who wouldn't come cheap, and yet all their dialogue is some random banter when you're standing near them, and in the odd, hey, this is what you've got to do now, Guardian. There's no progress and story dialogue which you were expecting, especially seeing this guy meant to be your commanding officer. And you don't get to play with any NPCs either. You kind of feel like there should be like the first mission, they should be training you up to be a Guardian. Say, okay, now you hit it. We're going to give you a quick test to see how you handle against the Fallen, etc. Although I must admit, I'm glad there isn't a major tutorial mission, because I do loathe overly tutorials. And this is the vault, which you can apparently swap between all 3 characters if you have them. Unfortunately, my other character's on a different account, so I can't swap any gear. I was quite hoping to swap an exotic helmet or something. Again, the tower design itself is really, really nicely done. It looks, the art and environment's beautifully done. It all fits together perfectly. But it just at the start, again, you just go to the shipwright. It just says some random banter. You have this no Pacific dialogue that says, we patched up the ship. You kind of had a little cutscene where they're sort of tinkering away saying, we patched up the ship. Be careful out there. But again, you don't get that. You just get sort of random banter dialogue. And that's all she says. She doesn't have any Pacific dialogue. The only time you hear her is when she's doing a patrol mission. You get a quick, oh, I need this object. And that's it. So, and to the orbit we go. And I'm going to finish there. Thanks for watching this randomised gaming video. And I will be back very shortly with another one on Destiny. Hope you've enjoyed it.